Hi, you guys. This is Linda G. And here I have Mary Earth Star and Spiritual Wellness Center. She's going to give you a little of her bio, but she's got some great gifts that can help all of us out. So take a listen.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Linda, for having me on. It's good to be able to connect with you and all of you guys out there. I'm Mary. I'm the teacher at Earth and Star Spiritual Wellness Center. And at that particular wellness center, we are dedicated to bringing you home to your authentic self, home to your heart, home to your most empowered version of self and what you can do with that.
And where's
And
your location, by the way?
we right now we are in South Carolina, but
Okay.
the retreat that we're going to be hosting in June is going to be in Highlands, North Carolina.
Okay.
So we have a lot going on with that retreat. We're going to have the whole team there. We're going to be doing lots of ceremony, fire walking, cacao stuff. We're going to be doing, I saw that face. We're going to be learning how to work with sacred fire and how to express around sacred fire, allowing the elementals to transmute your emotion into something higher, a higher energy. We'll be doing drum circles and channeling, and it's just going to be an amazing, amazing time where we get to hold each other in a cocoon of love, open up everything that we're meant to be on the inside, and then learn how to grow that moving forward, even past the retreat dates.
So
So,
did you send me the retreat links?
yes, I
Okay,
did.
good.
That's in
I'll
there.
have
That's
it in the box below, you guys.
yes. So make sure you check that out because that is an all-inclusive 3-day retreat. That includes the teachings and ceremonies, the food. They have an organic food farm out there. So you'll be eating straight off of their food farm, and includes the lodging. It's just going to be an amazing, amazing time.
Awesome.
So, as the teacher out there, there's a lot of things to that specific one. I'm mostly just bringing the cacao and the channeling piece and letting everyone else do their stuff, because when we think about the retreats, our slogan is welcome home. So when we think about the retreat, we think of building a house and how it takes all of us to make up the whole house, and each of us is a room. So I'm bringing a particular room that you can come into and sit and be held for a while, and each facilitator has a different room for you to visit while you're there. But in my particular room, what I bring to the table basically boils down to soul language. And Linda and I were discussing this a little bit earlier. I've done trainings within shamanism for years, Druidry, Akashic records, hypnotherapy, quantum healing, crystal healing, animal communication, cacao plant spirit medicine. I'm a Reiki master teacher. But all of that is just the tools and the fluff that we use so that you understand what's actually happening when we connect. Because
Yeah.
when we connect, what's actually happening is our souls are meeting, and I'm feeling you, and I'm connecting with you, and I'm letting you know what you need. I'm holding you where you need to be held. And then I'm fighting for you when you're too weak to fight for yourself, until you're empowered enough to go forward and do it you're on your own. And so when we have this soul language, essentially what it comes down to is understanding how everyone is our client. All of the plants are our clients and need healing and help along the way, or at least communication. How the animals can need healing and communication, how all of the people do, but also how we can heal time,
Yeah.
and how we can heal spirits, and how spirits come to
That's
us sometimes.
wonderful. So as you do this work, you notice your own self being vibrationally higher, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Because
It's
you're very bright in your energy. I'm like, turn it down, girl. Turn it down.
my my light is as low as it'll go. There, now it's on. But I get you. I get you. You do. Whenever you work with these sorts of energies, it's almost impossible to fully connect into source energy without making yourself completely open as a channel and opening all of that up and raising your frequencies.
That's
I
great.
love your drum. I have a very similar
Oh,
one. You have to give it to me.
Kevin Loving, not Kevin Loving, sorry.
Kevin Lewis.
Kevin Lewis, medium. Yeah.
He gave
He's
me.
got one in his house too.
I love it so much. I'm glad that I saw that. We have that love mutual friend.
Yeah. And people say owls are supposed to be bad luck for natives, but I've always loved owls since I was young before I knew anything about they were bad luck.
I think that they carry a whole lot of wisdom, but I also feel like at times, and people say that about crows sometimes too, I think sometimes they can facilitate the bridge from one side to the other.
Yeah.
Maybe they feel like it represents death or things coming in
So
those
tell
realms.
me your focus. What would you like to accomplish in this lifetime? Okay, first, when did you know you had something to offer? And what is your focus for the future?
That's a very good question. I think that I've always been able to see. So I've always been able to work with what we kind of describe as angels and demons or light beings and dark beings and see them around. But when I learned that there was something to give is a
Mhm.
completely different story because we kind of tap into these things because we want to heal ourselves. We
Yeah,
want to heal our past traumas, things like that. And it's not really until we do that that we realize I have a gift and I'm not meant to keep it for myself. I'm meant to be of service to other people and to share this. And that's the whole point of having these gifts.
right.
So, my point and purpose of everything is to help bring life and a good life. A lot of people are making it through or they're in survival mode, but they don't always know how to be alive and how to live well and what that looks like or what that means. It doesn't mean healing forever. It means healing and then living well and sharing with others. It means a holistic approach, mind, body, and soul. And that's really what I like to help people, especially in our one on one sessions.
Right. So what are you, 12 now?
Would you
You look
believe it?
so
I said I was
young.
pushing 40.
What?
I have a son in
Holy,
college. Yes.
oh my God, girlfriend. Well, anyway,
But I
so
appreciate
yeah,
it.
you're like me. I do the same thing. So, but tell me this fascinating, I think it's the reason I was turned on to you, was that whole Frank Sinatra thing, what you did with the soul energy of those who have passed.
Yes. Well, it all came about, I never thought about looking into famous people or
Yeah,
spirits or anything like that. You sometimes have lost soul attachments or family members who come on with your physical clients and you can heal through with them. But I have one client who is connected to Frank Sinatra and multiple other what we would call famous souls. And so when she came in, we did the healing work on her. And then these souls started coming in. We've had Frank Sinatra come in. We've had Marilyn Monroe, Clark Gable, Jilly Rizzo, JFK has come in, William Powell. So I've gotten the opportunity to work with all of these souls. I think one of my most fascinating cases with all of that, I've really liked working with Marilyn Monroe.
really?
Yes, because when you think about how they're famous and how so many people love them and worship them and adore them and want to be like them, you'd think that it would be pulling on their energy
Yeah,
and maybe creating cords. But what I realized, what Marilyn taught me, is that they're not pulling on her energy because they don't know Marilyn Monroe.
yeah,
They know the archetype Marilyn Monroe. They know
right.
who
They
she
don't know who
was.
Norma Jean is. Yeah,
Right. They know who she was as a artist, as a actress. And so they're actually sucking on an archetype of her, not her herself. And I found that extremely interesting.
yeah. I tried to tap into her one time years ago. And what I got from her was that she really didn't understand, nor what did she want to be bothered by mediums.
Yes, actually, I think it was her where she showed me that there was a medium somewhere, which is one of the times that she came forward for me, that there was a medium who kept trying to connect with her. I'm sure it wasn't you.
No, it wasn't me. I did it once as a favor for somebody else. And
Yeah,
she was
yeah.
like, what, like, what's the fuss, it's like, people make these famous people out to have a famous energy, and a lot of them suffered more than regular folks.
They really did. They've had a lot of trauma that they can't really wear on their sleeves the way we get to, because they have
Right,
to keep pushing forward and upholding an image of
right.
themselves.
So what do you offer for people?
When people come to me, essentially, we have these retreats and different things, but in our one-on-one healing sessions, you're really kind of booking the amount of time that you want. And we work together one-on-one on whatever you need, whatever your energy is ready for. So if that looks like timeline healing to heal from past traumas, then we'll do that. If that looks like empowerment and moving forward into future lives to bring in those power centers, then we do that as well. We can do ancestral healing, soul retrievals from past lives in different places like that. There's really, like I said, once you're within that range of soul language, there's no limit to what we can do. You just have to show up for yourself and for those that you represent to see what needs to be done. Like in the case of this one client, she did so much for her own work, and then she just kept showing up to hold space for these other spirits or souls that might need that time. So her healing sessions are always just like the souls, the other spirits healing sessions, and we just sit and heal spirits through her whole
Fascinating. So what about the records, the Kasich records?
That we can do definitely too. We do that a lot of the time when we go in through soul retrieval. I do it a little different than how most Akashic readers are trained, only because I feel like it's another tool that gets incorporated into timeline healing, past life healing. We can go into the Akashic records. We can see where maybe we've written out things for ourselves, because we don't always write in our Akashic records things that are going to be bound to happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We also write contracts for ourselves that are built from negative belief systems because of old traumas. So when we can find those that are hidden here and there in our Akashic records, we're deleting negative belief systems out of our subconscious mind and our energy over and over again. And when we don't have negative belief systems about ourselves or what we're capable of, we slowly come into a more empowered version of ourselves.
Right. So is your calendar stuffed full?
I think that I have some places in April.
Okay, that's good news.
That is good news. I think we do have some places to put people, but we also have membership. When we are on the Earth and Star website, remember, this is a spiritual nonprofit. So on the YouTube, we have free trainings or teachings, or we do spiritual teachings. We have memberships that people can go to where they have not only exclusive content, but where you can get 15% off all paid memberships. You get 15% off of every single healing session that you get. So even if there's not new content up every single week or every few days, you're getting a discount on that healing session that you've been waiting for. So that's
Right.
always a plus to have. So we have a few different ways. We also have free lab groups, which is Life's Anonymous Battles, run by our associate pastor here. And she basically takes care of people's emotions. As people come in for these healing sessions, I get you
It
for
can
an
be
hour.
pretty rough. Yeah.
Yeah, I only get you for like a short amount of time, and we're really digging some stuff out that you have to go process on your own. And I'll see you in 3 months. You know what I mean? So we also have lab groups where they're free. You get to just come in and sit with Erin, and you get to discuss your feelings or things that you're going through. And it really works as not a conversation such as, will people give you advice? We don't give you advice in those groups. That's just where you get to have a voice, be heard, be supported. And then the more you go around, the more that lifts, because when you're in a supported state, you realize things aren't so bad as they
Yeah.
seem.
Well,
Mhm.
trying to get out of thinking in human terms is very hard because we're all human, but we
Yes.
all have a connection with the realm, and
Hmm.
everybody has that spark in them. And so part of the purpose for my end, besides some prophecy and mediumship, was to be sure to remind people that mostly humans get in their own way. So what you have to do is you have to understand we're so focused, like because we're humans and we need to survive, but we can get so focused on things that energetically take us off the pipeline. To stay on the pipeline, you have to know that this too shall pass, and you can actually create what it is you want, but you have to be a vibrational match to it. And if you always think in terms of Debbie Downer, guess what? You're always going to have bad news. That was my life for most of my life. Nothing ever worked out. And then boom, I got cancer, and it was the best gift I ever got in my whole life.
Oh, wow.
Because now I focus, and now they talk to me, through my ear. They're the ones that told me to do YouTube. I was like, I don't want to get up and brush my hair. And they said, no, you're going to help calm them down.
You have a light to shine. You definitely have people to lead and guide and to help through everything. And you're absolutely right. That's it. There's a huge um, confusion, I think, that happens between the ego mind and the spiritual self, because the
Yeah,
ego is there to keep our bodies safe, and it says, nope, that's not safe. No, we can't do that. No, you can't do this. But the spirit needs to override that in order to do
right.
anything.
And I like the way you're able to pinpoint the pain, the pulse, help them with that, but you also are allowing them to get their own tools to take care of themselves.
Absolutely. Empowerment is the most important part of healing. I don't want you coming back to me over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah. It's just like with readings. I would tell people, they'd say, oh, I'm going to try to get next month or the month. I said, no, you don't want back-to-back readings.
You need time to integrate it, to go out there and live it, to live your karmic journey, to take on the next best thing. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my repeating clients. We have such a strong
Well, there's
connection.
some people that really need some work.
Hmm. And but the point is that they also take on their tools and use their tools, so that the next time they come, we're working on a different level, not the same level. We
Right,
don't keep having to work on the same thing over and over and over again. We want to
right,
keep moving
right.
forward.
My thing is that especially people will get connected to a human. It could be their mother or to their lover, and they're so busy focusing on that person and when will they love me, they don't look at themselves. And the thing is, you cannot depend on anybody else, nobody else. It's all up to you. And even beautiful couples I meet that that they're destined to be together. I mean, at one point in time, one or the other will die. It's just that's the way life is. I've seen the absolute devastation when people married 50, 60 years and one of the persons dies. And in a way, even though I'm not involved in a relationship and I was never with anybody longer than 9 years, I'm kind of glad because it's very painful. But they
Yeah.
also had that gift of having someone, a lot of us don't have that. So,
And I mean, and what a beautiful gift that you have the mediumship as well, because you get to help connect them to those loved ones. Because let's be honest, we have this blanket thing where people are like, oh, well, their soul lives on. You shouldn't be so sad. No, I don't miss their soul. I can talk to their soul whenever I want to. I miss their body. I
yes.
miss their
And I
smell.
always tell people you have permission. And if you need to mourn 1 year or 3 years, it's part of the human self. So, yeah, you got to, but it's good. I've helped many people because they were so despondent. And then when they give actual details of things no one else would know, that's
Mhm.
what you got to do. You got to hear the actual details. I was just reading somebody and I saw her mother, and all I saw on her legs was varicose veins. I'd never gotten varicose veins. And she said, yeah, my mom had varicose veins. But they'll give you details, which in turn kind of gives you that, well, maybe she doesn't really see this person.
Hmm.
And then what else they have to say, whether it's please forgive me or I'm in paradise. The first guy I read, if I don't know if you got my book, but the first guy I read was a man who walked through the walls of my place at Angel Heart. And he had a big beard, beautiful blue eyes. He was young and he was wearing motorcycle boots and he was tall. And he walked through the wall, and his mother was in front of me, and she was sobbing. I said, I think your son is here. And he proceeded to tell me how he died, that he was on a motorcycle and it went down and he hit an 18-wheeler, and that they did CPR and kind of brought him back, but he wasn't back because he was still out of his body. What happened in the hospital, that he had this girlfriend he had and two children with the girlfriend, and how he wished he had married her. And which, how would I know? And this woman is sobbing. I'm trying not to look at her because I don't want to start sobbing myself. And he looked at me with those beautiful blue eyes and he said, would you tell her I'm more alive now than when I had a body?
Oh, wow.
I'm in paradise, it's okay. So, and it was beautiful, but it touched me. I realized I don't think she heard a word I said, I'll be honest with you. Some people just decide, and it's terrible losing a child, but they decide, I think, tell me if you think I'm right. I think a lot of people have some past life stuff with losing children because a lot of children die, especially in the years past. But
Hmm.
I think that fear of losing a child and then losing a child can devastate, really devastate families. But the
Hmm.
beautiful messages I get from the children is through the roof.
I love that. I love that so much. Most of my encounters with a lot of the souls, and we are able, with women who lose children, we are able to be a medium for those souls as well. Even if they were miscarriages or things like that, they were still
Right.
souls. So we do get to communicate with those. But a lot of my visions and earlier visions and experiences weren't actually with souls. They were with angelic energies or negative entities. These were the things that were coming through the walls at night when I was little.
Whoa.
Yes. And with people who are passing or dying. So I work a lot with Archangel Michael in that particular aspect, because when people are dying, or like actually dying, and it's someone related in some capacity to a family member or somebody I know, I'll see them. They'll come and be in my house 6 to 10 hours before they pass. If I see them in
Wow.
the house, I know this person's going to die within 6 to 10 hours. It's time to go do the death rites. And we'll show up and do the rites and that sort of thing. But this is a particular niche that I have as well. So if someone's transitioning, or an animal, a loved pet that you have is transitioning, we kind of help walk them across the rainbow bridge, lighten up their energy a little bit so they're not carrying so much baggage, and negative entity removals, because that's definitely a thing that people need as well. Can
Not to keep bringing myself up, but it is all about me. No, I'm just kidding.
I
Um,
believe you.
I had a client, it's in my book too, that her daughter was with this guy who really suffered. He had been in prison and he had all this stuff, and they kept living in places that they kept getting kicked out of. And the mother and the stepdad were paying for all their new places to live in. They didn't dare have them live with them. But because he loved pit bulls. He'd get 5 or 6 pit bulls. Well, no, nobody, insurance wise, it's not a good idea. So they kept getting kicked out and the pit bulls would tear things up. Long story short, she was like at the end of her rope. I don't know when this is going to end. And I saw him, this man, and I saw a black energy right inside of him. I said, oh
Mm.
my God, he's got the blackness, the evil. And one other time I had fought some evil. It was weird, but this one was at a distance and I could see it, four-legged actually, in him. And then I looked and then they said to me, it's going to be over in about 4 weeks. And I told her, all this will be done. What do you mean? Is he going to die? Or I said, die or go to jail, but it's going to be done. And she called me like a month or two later and said, he came after the daughter with a gun. She ran in the bedroom, slammed the door, and took a gun and blew through the door and killed him.
Oh my goodness.
So then I read the daughter later. Oh my God, he was so happy. He didn't have that black energy on him anymore. He proceeded to tell her how much he loved her. He wanted her to know what to do with the dogs. But it was like it was good to go through that because he didn't, cross and then had that black. He went to the light. And I think a lot of it is because a lot of this stuff that happened to him is because of the terrible childhood he had.
Yes, absolutely. Anytime we're fussing with dark energies or attachments, you can fight those things all day long, but the only way to really get them off and keep them off is to heal the childhood wounds,
I
heal the
know that's
low
hard to do.
vibrations in that person. And what a difficult message it was for you to have to give them. He's going to die or go to jail, but it'll be
I
done.
said it's going to be over. I saw it was going to be over. Well, they did, no offense, but they wanted it to be okay, but it just wasn't going to happen.
Mhm.
And then they were so happy to hear he was so happy,
Yeah, he was.
that he was free. So the mediumship stuff is amazing. It's amazing. And the messages, I remember doing a group mediumship and this young pretty girl was sitting there and I saw this man who announced himself. And she said, "Oh, yeah, that's my uncle." I said, "It's really strange because I see him looking at a lake and then his life is over. He feels like he's sitting in a car looking at a lake. Well, someone had come up behind him and blew his brains out."
Oh my goodness.
But then he wanted to tell her how sorry he was. And
Mhm.
she just broke down. So apparently he had been molesting her as a child. And that came out. But listen, when you get to the other side, you guys, they know if you snuck that extra cookie. I'm going to tell you right now, there's nothing that gets by them.
Nothing at all. We have done a lot of good healing work with really tough things like that. People pass, people's parents pass and they've abused them, but they're still able to kind of connect and apologize or at least
Yes.
try to make amends in some capacity. It's always harder for the human to make
The
amends.
spirit is ready and willing and able to say, I did. Though there are some energy forms that go over there, like mothers who always thought they had the right to tell their child what to do. That's big sin, by the way. To take away the free will of another person is really bad.
Mhm.
And they would make their kids feel bad. I know that growing up, my dad could make me feel this big. And I was in my 50s, because
Mm,
he had just that way of making you feel what you think is wrong and what I feel is right.
right. Some people just need that power. And then
Yeah.
when they get on the other side, they realize, oh, wow, that was completely incorrect. I shouldn't have done that.
And then
Uh,
I tried a little bit of ghost hunting. Did you ever try ghost hunting?
oh my gosh. It is creepy. I have been to quite a few cemeteries in my time and, looked at the souls there and talked to them. And I want to hear your story though.
Well, I've had a couple of stories, but I will tell you one thing. I used to think I wanted to be a ghost hunter, so it was professional. But I will tell you, I saw Jesus. And I guess there's a famous saying he said that's in the Bible, but he said, "Why do you look for the dead amongst the living?"
Mm,
So there's no such thing as people really being dead. Some energy forms will stay on earth, but it's not, they all eventually go. Like I didn't understand why children would be ghosts. Why would God allow a child? And they told me it's all based on free will.
mhm.
But lots of times the parents will mourn so bad that the child doesn't exit. And then the parents die and the child's still looking for their parents. So, but I had a house, my dad's house was haunted. I'm going to tell you, it was really bad haunted. And I brought some ghost hunters there. We were sitting in the garage with tables and walkie-talkies, and a guy was sitting in the living room. We could see him on the cameras with his walkie-talkie. And we were getting ready. And through the walkie-talkie, you hear a woman saying, "Help me, help me." And we
No.
were all like, "What the?" And the guy in the living room stood up and he runs to through the kitchen and out the door where we were. "Did you guys hear that?" And we were all getting ready to say, "Yeah." And suddenly there was three huge bangs on the wall between the kitchen and the garage. Boom, boom, boom. We packed our stuff and got the hell out of there. But you know, after Dad died, because he was laid up in the hospital, after he died, it was gone.
Really?
What's that about?
It's highly possible it was attracted to him. Like, did you feel like it was a negative energy or did you feel it was a soul?
I felt it was assault. You know, we had a lot of suicides in our neighborhood. My
Mm,
babysitter killed herself. The neighbor across the street hung himself. A couple who finally got a baby they adored, that we used to see him walking up and down the street with this little blonde, blue-eyed baby. He accidentally drowned in a little pond in the backyard. So when they got home from the hospital, they committed suicide. You know, one shot the other and then the other shot himself.
oh
So
my
there was
God.
a lot of suicides. There was probably a lot of souls walking around.
I bet so. Yeah, it definitely sensed a soul, but for some reason it almost felt like it felt in company with your dad. So maybe it was one of the men, one of the older men in the neighborhood or something like that felt
Could
that they
be.
weren't alone in that space.
Yeah, could be. But my mom saw things all the time. But my mom was the Comanche Indian. I'm a registered Comanche Indian too. But her and my grandma, who I never met, grandma died giving birth to her seventh child. They both saw spirits. My
Mm.
mom saw a woman with dark hair with a red robe coming out of my brother's room, but she said it wasn't really walking, it was floating. And then
Mm.
it turned into me and my sister's room. And my mom was laying there. It was like 3 or 4 in the morning. And she grabbed the 22 off the shelf next to her, got up, and my mom was such a scaredy cat. But she walked into our room with the gun and there was nothing in there. So it was a ghost.
Oh my goodness, I can't imagine. And it does kind of, the gift does kind of go through ancestral lines. My mom had it, but she died when I was very young. All my boys have this sight. I'm
They
telling
do.
all my boys have this sight. My oldest, when he was little, he used to have night terrors, crawling. Like I would go in his room at night and he'd be clawing up the walls, having
Was
night
it a
terrors.
past life or was it a past life thing or was it just what was it? Was it a
I
remembrance of something from before?
I feel like with him, it was stuff happening then in the spirit realm because I was much younger when I had him. He's in college now. I was much younger when I had him. So I didn't see the same way I do now. Everything was very physical rather than the intuitive knowing of everything. And in that house, I would hear voices. I would hear people opening and slamming doors like all night long. And we were in a neighborhood where there was a lot of activity. And then the middle child, he wakes up in the middle of the night with these, it's like he's frozen and shaking and sweating and staring off
Wow.
at him. I'm sure he's seeing through portals. I think
Okay.
when he falls asleep, portals open. And I know that there were some negative things there for a while because he kept saying in his state, he would say, "No, no, I'm not coming. I'm not coming." And I could sense something like pulling.
Oh my God, that must have been so scary for you.
So for years, every night, I'd have
I'd
to
have had that holy water and
cleanse
the
the room.
power of Christ will compel you.
Every night, and it seems to hit at a certain age. For me, it hit around the age of 3. For they were a little bit younger, but now my youngest is about to be 3, and now he's starting up at night.
Oh
And
my
his
goodness.
His are a little different. He always acts like something's choking him. He wakes up and does like this and tries to talk, and so I have to clear the house. I don't know what it is, but it's like these
There's
things.
some remembrance. It's almost like a spiritual DNA, a remembrance, like people who have a total fear of heights and stuff. Usually they died by something from a height or giving birth to a child or lost a child. A lot of that is that my daughter was horribly afraid of bridges.
Me too.
And that sometimes it's something to do with falling off a bridge or some, and then she got to a certain age and it was gone.
The DNA remembrance. So when she outgrew the age that she probably was when she died on that bridge,
Yeah.
it probably went away.
There's people I know who were fine for many years, and all of a sudden they reach a certain age and they become totally phobic about something. That's a past life DNA remembrance. Like
With
oh my God, this happened to me at this age.
Yes, absolutely. With my bridge thing, I went back through the help of a medium and figured out where mine was. And mine from the child, like I would have dreams that I was falling off of bridges. I couldn't drive across it. Like it was a pretty bad phobia. And eventually, at a certain age, I started having a spirit sitting in my back seat every time I drove. And I was like, lady, get out of my car. Of course, it's a spirit. Lady, get out of my car. What are you doing? And she finally told me this story when I reached a certain age that when I was little, I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. My parents were, there's a really big bridge in Jacksonville, Florida. And my parents were driving across that bridge when there was a fatal car crash. And my mom, because she was gifted, somehow psychically connected in. And I think what she was doing was praying over the wreck. Like logically, I think she was praying over it. But something about her energy connected in with this soul and helped the soul cross. And so the soul was coming back. So in my subconscious memory, I'm a young child just seeing a fatal car crash and reliving the trauma of it over and over in my subconscious mind because I don't remember it. It happened when I was really
right.
But then eventually the soul comes back to be like, look, you're just remembering me and my wreck. You can get over it now. Everything's fine.
Right,
and I healed from it and I'm not afraid of bridges that much anymore.
right. That's amazing. That's great.
But
So what about people who died in Auschwitz and stuff? People who starved, do they have any something residual that comes back with them?
I feel like what I've seen most in those particular realms have to do with ancestral trauma.
Okay.
Because it's all in the ancestral DNA and stuff like that. I think is kind of on an individual basis because we do, if we hold those traumas and those wounds and carry that across, sometimes when we cross over, like you said, when you saw those spirits, they're light, they're in heaven, they're like, man, this is great. I don't have to worry about that anymore. And sometimes they do carry those resentments and those hurts with them into their next lives.
Right.
And then they feel those in their sequential lives. But most of what I've seen in those sorts of realms have to do with ancestral trauma because those wounds get passed down through the energetic DNA.
Right.
And here we are with people who are afraid of certain things in an excessive amount or who have extreme scarcity wounds and things like that. And it has nothing to do with their life. It's just their memories from their parents or great grandparents and things like that that have just been passed down.
My parents were atheists. My mom was raised in a Catholic orphanage a native orphanage run by white nuns. She was very traumatized as an American Indian. And so they didn't talk about, they didn't say there's no such thing. My dad said, when I die, cremate me and put me in a coffee can and put me in the garbage. I mean, he just didn't think anything about it. When you're dead, you're dead. Mm-hmm. And when I was 8 years old, I had a visit. I literally must have died. It was like an NDE because I came out of my body and I met with Jesus. And in that whatever you want to call it, out of body, it wasn't a dream because when I got back inside my body, I was ice cold, like I had died. I
Yeah.
mean, ice freaking cold. So when I went to see him in this beautiful spot with this beautiful, it sounded like a chorus of angels. I remember telling people about this. And then when you read Life and Teachings of Master of the Far East, when they go to the other side, they'll say, it sounds like an angel, a chorus of angels, but it's a vibrational thing. And the
Mhm.
colors were just more beautiful than the colors on earth. And he was just loving and kind. And that's why my parents didn't squawk if we wanted to go with our Protestant friend or Catholic friends or Mormon friends for Bible studies on Sunday. We used to just to get out of the house, we'd go with our neighbors or whatever. And they said, yeah, go ahead and go. And I remember thinking, these guys don't know who Jesus is. There's no condemning or you need to do this or that, you know. It was he was all about love. But I was only 8 years old and I he was Jesus, but I didn't know for sure. The neighbor across the street was Catholic, and I asked her name Lizzie. I said, "Can I see, a picture of Jesus?" And it wasn't what he looked like, but it was that kind of look. So it was Jesus I saw because he came back when I was 33. Not in an out of body, it was a dream, but it was him.
That's so beautiful. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
So I knew I was supposed to do something. But as crazy as I was till I got cancer, cancer just saved my life. And I was, messed up because my dad could be pretty cruel when we were young. Both my parents had terrible childhoods, so you know how it shows sometimes. And I was off my rocker. So a lot of people will tell you, but I was funny. I did stand-up comedy for a while. I was a nurse, and I was a good nurse for many years. And but I went through men like cereal boxes. I just went through one. Excuse me, is that your heart? I was mad at men.
I'm
I wanted love, but I didn't want love. It was really weird. Then I got two boys. I was scared to death to have boys. I had my daughter, but then I had those two boys, and a psychic told me about those boys. Her name is Patricia McLean. She's deceased now. She said I was 36 years old when I had the reading with her. And I wanted to know if things were going to work out with my daughter and I because we were going through a lot of bad stuff. And she said, "Yeah, yeah, she's in a phase, which she was because we get along fabulously now." She said, "But you got two boys come." I thought this lady cray. There's no way. There is no way. Because I was trying to get my tubes tied at 36.
Mhm.
I didn't want any more kids. Kaiser refused to tie my tubes because they said I was too young. But let me tell you, I'm too young. My ass needs to be tied. And so I ended up at 39 having Jacob. And then, in fact, they were close together. She said, I don't know if it's twins, but it's two boys. And then I had my son, Jacob. And then when I was 42, totally unexpected pregnancy. So they call it a change of life pregnancy or something. I had Jeffrey. So sure enough, and she named the other husbands I was going to have, which I went through like mustard. And yeah, I exactly everything she said, but it was amazing. In fact, my last husband, uh, I asked her, he told me that he was living with his mother. We had separated, and I wanted to believe him. And I asked her, she said, "Oh, hell no, he's living with this woman, right?" And he was. He was. He lied to
Wow.
me. So,
Is that the same psychic who ended up making that movie?
no, Patricia McLean, no.
Okay, okay. There's a McLean who I'll have to look it up who made a movie about some stuff. Anyways, but I love that you met with Jesus and that you talked about all of that because of your mom having such traumatic religious wounds. Because
Yes,
that's why I teach spirituality. I
yes.
feel like so many people have religious wounds around the rules
Mom
and
had a deep one.
it's so much because of how it's taught without people really understanding and connecting to the
Right.
energies and the frequencies of Jesus or of Mother Mary. And they're so loving and nurturing. But we don't understand that because we're taught by men on the pulpit, well, this is what you got to do, or you're going to
Oh
go to.
yeah, it's well, the Catholic religion sucks. That's my opinion. It's not a very healthy, and it's going downhill because of the wounds it created. But
Mhm.
let me tell you something. My mom died in my home. I took care of her till she died. And do you know she refused last rites?
Really?
By the way, we weren't baptized in anything,
Hmm.
but she refused last rites. I said, Mom, would you like, because here she is on her deathbed. She could have taken the opportunity. No, she said.
Good for her. That feels empowering for her, though, because for
Yeah,
her, that would have been submitting to an authority that wounded her
yeah,
at a particular time rather than something beautiful and flowing like how you and I might think of death.
right. But the nuns were very cruel to the natives.
I imagine
They
so.
couldn't speak their language. My grandmother could speak Comanche, Spanish, and English. And mom could speak Spanish and English, but listen, she married a gringo. She married my dad,
Uh-huh.
but he was less prejudiced than her, by the way. But she marries this guy, and her sisters, all beautiful women. They all married two. A couple of them married a white guy. Another auntie married a Hispanic guy. But when they were together, they'd speak their language fluently, but never in front of us kids. And I wish they had spoken and taught us how to speak Spanish.
Spanish. It's my stepmother was Puerto Rican, and
Mhm.
I cannot grasp Spanish. I can't. I have a deep love and respect for Spanish people. I have a deep love and respect and honor for the culture. And when people are speaking it around me, I kind of know what they're saying. But
How old were you when she became your stepmom?
I was 4
Okay,
because
so that was young enough.
yeah, and then they divorced when I was in the 4th grade.
Okay,
I don't remember what age that was, maybe 8 or 9, something like that. But I've taken Spanish classes like 3 different times.
I have too.
I just can't wrap my brain around speaking it.
Yeah, and but listen, the food, oh, the Puerto Rican food, are you kidding? I like Cuban food.
Hmm.
Hell to the yeah.
Well, now we just need to have a cooking show and go.
Oh, the time flew by, girl. We're almost at 50 minutes.
We are, but we've had really, really good talks, and I
Yeah.
love getting to know you more, getting to have that rapport and that connection. Because it does feel very heart connected, and I love that. But we're also getting to talk about a wide variety of different topics that other people might be wondering about, or maybe in
Yeah.
ways that they feel less alone in some experiences that they've had as well.
And it's an honor to meet you. You're another light worker and you'll do a lot of people good. And those that are listening that need your help will hear you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That is the goal. Right now, I'm going to let you in on a little secret, okay? I tend not to get too political, but Pete Seeger popped in right before we got on the show. Okay, so this was Bob Dylan's mentor, right?
Yeah.
And he popped in just for a moment, just to say something like, "Hey man, the people got to come together. The pies, they're not going to do it for you. The people got to do it. The people got to come together." And then I started hearing a Bob Dylan song, and I was like, okay. You saw when you first got on, I had my guitar because I was like, okay, I need to play this song.
Right, right. Did you see that movie about Bob Dylan yet?
The new one? No, I
Yeah,
have not.
I'm not a Bob Dylan fan at all.
Why?
Doesn't mean that I couldn't like him. I never even thought twice about Tom Petty until he died. And then he was right in my face
Mm,
asking me for help. I'm like, whoa. And then I fell in love with his music.
exactly. There's a connection there to some capacity. So I don't know. I think I lived in the 60s and then reincarnated quickly. I must have had
Because
a
you're
quick.
young, yeah. Yeah. Oh, the 60s and 70s, fantastic. We had some great music, you guys.
But that was kind of the message, was for all of us to come together. So I feel like there is a call right now for all the light workers to really connect, for people who might not even consider themselves light workers but have gifts to step up and really step into their empowerment. So whether this looks like doing your own healing to step into that empowerment, or it's just like starting a fire that
Yeah,
spreads. It's almost kind of how I see that. Just this one person. It takes one person to light the lighter.
right. Oh,
That
let
fire.
me tell you something. Psychically, I can tell you, not to go into politics, but the people will be coming together. It's
Yeah,
already starting. It's going
absolutely.
to be a huge mess. And it's going to teach those who think that they can step on the little man. They're going to learn something. They're going to get a what for.
Yes.
They're going to get play with the bull, you get the horns. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I would have made an excellent cowgirl.
I'll tell you, that's right. So listen, can you just say out loud how to write you, and then I'll get all your information and put it on the thing.
Yeah, so if you guys need anything, our website is earthandstarwellness.com. We're also Earth and Star Wellness on YouTube, and we're earthandstarwellness@gmail.com if you guys need anything.
Perfect. That's easy peasy. And
There,
they can you'd like them to subscribe to your show.
absolutely. Whatever people feel is their way, because everybody needs something different. So if just the retreat sounds like something that you really need to embody yourself, your authentic self, get a ticket to the retreat. If you feel like you just want some teachings, go to the YouTube channel, and those are free. If you feel like you want that other stuff, the exclusive content, the 15% off those healing sessions, then you might want to join the membership. But everyone, also, I do want to say, everyone deserves healing. As a spiritual nonprofit, if you absolutely cannot afford a healing session, email us. We give out scholarships, guys. So every year we take on a certain number of students, a certain number of people who need healing, and we'll work with you. We work with you for free.
Yeah,
So everyone deserves healing and to be their most loved and authentic version of self. So we're here for you however you feel like you fit into that.
right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for
It
having
was
me
a
on.
delight talking to you, girlfriend. I'm sorry I took so long to get back. I'm take too long for everybody. I'm a
Perfect.
busy lady.
I know that you are, but everything's in divine timing. I'm
Yeah,
just happy to be able to connect with you finally.
that's
And I
great.
love being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You got a beautiful shine about you. You're rest to go, girlfriend.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Cheers.